Okay. Okay, guys, I'm back, and oh, I'm not on screen. Let me get me. That's why it seemed weird to me. It didn't seem like I was here because I couldn't see me, but there I am. Here I am, man. Let me say I say to you guys, could it be I've stayed away too long? Okay, maybe I've been too long. Did I leave your mind when I was gone? Okay, because I want to be where you are, and that's what I'm attempting to be right now. But where we are right now is one of the best and most decisive periods of vampire movies of all time. Like this is like reshaping of vampirism on screen. This would change how we would see vampirism on screen. All came from this specific era of vampire movieism, right? Like this is unquestionably one of the like iconic eras if you enjoy a good, traditional vampire movie, right? Like this is what this is. This is that era right here. And we got a lot that defines like the look of vampires came out of this. One of the big things was the changes in the film stock. Obviously, color was on the scene at this point coming into the 60s. The 60s fully enjoyed color, where the 50s was getting, the tail end of the 50s was getting color. The 60s fully were getting color. Like it wasn't even a question now. Color was the standard at this day and age. So that changed a lot about how we saw Dracula, right? Like we saw Dracula different, man. Like you weren't limited to being all like black and white and looking like you move slow, right? We went from like that vampire, right, to a much cooler vampire. Now Dracula's cool. I mean, like some of you guys might have thought Dracula was cool previously, but this is the day and the age of like actually a visually cooler, like look, when you go from black and white to like vivid color, that little blood trickle right there, man, it changes the game a lot. It really brings in. You're showing things of like blood and like the contrast. This, the black and white stuff was huge for that era. It was huge in that era. But this just added a whole depth, like extra step. Man, it's like he kicked it up a notch, man. It's like we put some slap your mama on it, right? So this is where vampire movies really, really got a boost in how we saw Dracula, man. This was the best eras for Dracula as far as putting it down, man. Like he really defined who he was going to be. So we go in for like a different look, different techniques. And then we get, man, this dude you guys might know is Christopher Lee. He's going to be very important to talk about vampirism. Like Christopher Lee put it down. Like he didn't come with Bela Lugosi's Dracula of the 30s, right? His was forged in the 60s era where the film was reinvented. They became more violent. Like this Dracula, he was a lot more violent. They were a lot more sensual. They were a lot more like, yeah, Bela Lugosi, he wasn't really pushing up on chicks in any kind of way. Now, that all like Nosferatu, like, yeah, okay. He wasn't like, yeah, what's up, girl? Like, this is the era where vampires started to be like some seductive dudes, man. Like the hair be looking nice. He's clean, well dressed. This is a whole different type of like Dracula on the screen, okay? So we got to look at where this comes about. And what makes it so important is the effect it would have down here. So when we talk about this era, we talk about Christopher Lee, who we're still talking about. This is Count Dooku, by the way. If you don't know who Christopher Lee, this is Sauron or Saruman, whatever. Saruman from the Lord of the Rings, the evil wizard, is the same dude, man. This dude's legendary on legend to legendary people. He's legendary, right? Like in the acting guild, he's legendary. He's not like the hottest name, but like he ain't hot in the streets. But this dude's been like simmering for like 70 years, man. He's been percolating and being like an incredible actor, man. Like this who is just because of the stuff he's played, like how he's put it down, like Christopher Lee's on a whole nother level. Notwithstanding, the real big motivation was not just Christopher Lee, right? He would be the face, but he was the face of Hammer Film Productions. And this is important, man. Like, you guys really want to go up on your vampire history. If you want to be like, yeah, this is the stories that shaped vampires, like gave it the look, rewind that bitch back to the 60s and focus on this era right here of vampirism, particularly that which we call Hammer Films. This is a British film studio, right? And it was forged. They were founded in the 30s, but they didn't really start getting hot until like the 50s. So by the time the 60s come around, they're a powerhouse in horror. There was all that timing right there. They were running up to this. They started in the 30s under the Bela Lugosi like flag, right? By the time they got into the 50s, man, they was running it. Then they had a lot of low budget movies, so they were formulated. So by the 60s, they were hitting the ground, man. Like their classic movie, because they did a lot of monster stuff, were highly recognized, right? They had vivid color instead of black and white films. That was, like I said, this is one of the major components of the why, like the how and the why. They were a major player because their film stock was better. Like, so their look, again, that they're having that red blood, that vibrance in your film. Like, you can imagine when everything else is monochrome, the one bright spot always stands out, right? It always stands out, for they're good or bad. Sometimes it's good to stand out, sometimes it's not. It's not good to stand out, right? Like I had some friends when I was a kid, and they had this, like, I think it was a parakeet or a parrot. I don't know what kind of bird it was. It was very colorful, tropical bird, right? We lived in a rural area in Central California, like farmland, right? So there's not a lot of these like colorful birds out where we live at, but there were a lot of hawks and predatory birds in our neighborhood. We live on the edge of like farmland, right? Like literally, like we're in a housing development, but it was a new housing development, so we hadn't, this is where we're still kind of encroaching on the farmland. So we're like on the edge of it. That's kind of where I grew up, right? Like I had an owl run into my car one night. Like I'm not BSing. Like an owl was, okay, let me tell this story first. So my friends, he has this parakeet and it gets out and it's all colorful. And as soon as it got out, and it was like, oh no, I didn't have anything to do with it, by the way. I wasn't the one to let the bird out. I just happened to be there when it happened. Okay. So it was never a me thing. Okay. So the bird gets out and immediately all these like rural farmland birds descend upon it. Like that, I'm telling you, it was no time flat, because we had hawks and small predators in our area, and that color, bam, triggered it, right? That color made it stand out. Same thing with these vampire movies. This was the first, Hammer Films was the first people to really put color in, like, and it was, there's even gradients of color depending on your film stock, depending on your cinematographer, depending on your finishing processes as they were. So the film stock, this kind of took it in no direction because they had everything clicking. And then you have, of course, an iconic actor, or would be an iconic actor, in Christopher Lee in-house. So this is them like putting it down. This was a real like turning point in vampire movies. This is where vampires kind of changed a lot of stuff, right? Now the turning point, I'd say the biggest turning point was 1958's Dracula, right? It was released in the US as House of Dracula, but this is where the movie, this is Christopher Lee as Dracula. This is Peter Cushing, right? This is Peter Cushing playing Van Helsing, another iconic actor in the making. And this is where like a gothic horror film, 1958. And then you had, this was like their Bela Lugosi, Boris Karloff, because that's how studios work. They have these big bangers, right? And that's what they were for. This was that level. Christopher Lee and Peter Cushing. You would hear these names around. So Hammer became a whole like monster universe, right? They weren't just doing vampire movies. They had a whole like, we do monster flicks, right? Which is great. I don't know if we have any studios that kind of do that anymore. All the studios are so big that I don't think they have the like kind of the singularity of, right? Not a singularity, but they're not building a universe in this way. So Hammer had built entire franchises around storytelling about Dracula, Frankenstein, The Mummy, the Phantom of the Opera. He's really fell out of rotation. And Dr. Jekyll and Mr. Hyde, who've also kind of been relegated to definitely like, you way down on the list of monsters I'm worried about. Dr. Jekyll. Like, I'm being really honest. Like, out of all the monsters, I'm least worried about Dr. Jekyll and Mr. Hyde. You know what? I'm lying. I'm least worried about the Phantom of the Opera. I didn't know y'all made a movie about him. Yeah, like Phantom of the Opera, you're already down to the bottom. We're never even going to talk about Phantom of the Opera on this. Like, not at all. You're not. I don't even see how you made the list. But I'm also not worried about Dr. Jekyll and Mr. Hyde. Like, I'm just like, whatever, dude. Okay. You're not really a monster. I don't care. But this is where like Hammer as a studio like excelled with their style, right? They had gothic castles, the candlelit interiors, thick fog. They always had these ancient forests, the reds were always really red. Like I said, you see that blood pop right there? I got the little blood right there. It's just bling, right? It's eye-catching. You didn't even know you was hypnotized by it, man. You didn't even know that. It's like you're right, and you're right now. You're like, you're right. My eyes did go to that red blood. Because it's doing its work, man. It's doing its business. Like the little red on her neck right there. Like, yeah, our eyes automatically go to that red. Like, automatically we go into that red. So this is the look that they were establishing, which would be the recognizable look for vampirism. This is like how Disney put their stamp down on early animation. Like you go back to like the 60s era of the early Disney's, even further than that, their look was the definitive look. If it didn't look like that, people weren't even going to watch your stuff, right? So it did a lot to really draw more eyes to, their films. It really, like, it is great timing. It's great timing. And we reward the guys who go on the ledge, get the new equipment, man, get the color film stock, learn how to shoot it and process it properly. That should always be, applauded, from the filmmaking standpoint. Now, Christopher Lee himself, I also said, was iconic. Like, this is one of the boldest choices for a representation of Christopher Lee. Christopher Lee, was small compared to Bela Lugosi at this time, right? Bela Lugosi was the dude. Like, Christopher Lee kind of came about it differently. He had this physical presence about him. He had intense eye contact. And Christopher Lee, like, he'd have these sudden bursts of, like, violence. So it all was so controlled that he gave us a Dracula himself that was a lot more animal-like. So this he really felt more like, man, I just want to say more predatory than even that previous Predator, right? Like, that's what we were getting into. And this is why this film, like, look, Hammer Films really matters because, one, it really reshaped our vampirisms. Vampires have blood red eyes, the cape, the Gothic castle. They really brought together, like, the modern look, and it was a great way for the studio. This is like before Marvel was synonymous with superheroes. Hammer Films and Gothic horror had that same association, right? Hammer wasn't just making monster movies. They were building an entire brand built around this particular storyline, monster storyline. So the audiences knew that if you saw Hammer logo, you kind of knew what you were about to get. You're like, uh-oh, I'm about to see some castles. I'm about to see some candles. There's definitely going to be a couple of monsters there, right? Like, so it's a good time. It's going to be a good, scary film. And at the 60s, this is it, man. Like, remember, they didn't get to see as many previews and trailers as we do. So you have to really be selling that bad boy, man. Like, when it got in there, you have to make it happen, man, so that they remembered you. So this is why it matters, too. Not only does Hammer set a new agenda, like, this is a reboot of Dracula. An entire reboot, right? We didn't get it. They didn't put it in a memo, but that's effectively what they did. It was a passing of the torch from the Bela Lugosi to the Christopher Lee, and he's the one who kept running with it because it's a new vampire in town, and his name is Reggie Hammer, right? This is essentially what it's saying here, and also what it means is, like, once again, the British people, thank you again. The British people were always able to look at us and say, you're welcome. Because what did they do? They redefined vampirism for us. Like the vampire flick. This is a British company and they did this for us. So thank you, Brits, right? We definitely appreciate it. You gave us this. You gave us Benny Hill, who I love, right? What else did you give us? You gave us some other stuff. You gave us Mr. Bean, all right? So between those three things, man, like 60s vampire era, Benny Hill, and Mr. Bean, you're all right with me, Brits. You guys are all right with me. I definitely appreciate your take on, on like how these films are supposed to look, like your comedy stylings and your vampirism. I have great respect. And you guys seem like you do pretty good werewolf movies over there too. So I'm not gonna lie. I don't think I've seen a British movie in a while, especially in these topics. Like, what's going on? What's going on? Or am I missing something? Because you guys are really the masters of this. So this is the British style here. And fundamentally, vampire movies change from, can we survive this ancient evil? The 60s were, what about when this ancient evil, like, it doesn't go away, it's still here in its 60s and it's still doing its thing, right? By the 80s, you're like, man, I kind of feel like vampires are just living among us. By the 90s, you're like, man, can we have a vampire hero? By the 2000s, it's like, man, that vampire's hot. right? We changed. Vampires got romanticized. So it used to be this, then it became this, Christopher Lee. Then it was a bunch of other nonsense, and then it became we're sleeping and having relationships with vampires, right? And I watched True Blood. I watched all that. And yes, Jessica, whatever her name was hot. But she's still a vampire. You can trust her. How are you going to sleep with her at night? Like, I'm being honest. I'm not joking, man. Like, unless I slept within like a UV dome, how you going? I can't have you over here at night. I can't be cuddled up against you. Like, I get hungry at night. You know what I'm saying? We all get hungry, and sometimes we get a little out of control with our eating. I'm simply saying this. I know y'all had True Blood. It can't be as good as the source. I don't see how you guys are trusting these vampires enough to be romantic with them. But whatever. Back to Hammer Films, because they kind of changed everything. Because prior to this, like I said, it was black and white. It was real theatrical acting. Like, you notice the acting actually gets a whole lot better. It's much slower pacing of the films. You get a much slower pace in terms of like development and technique. Like, that's not a criticism. That's merely identifying what we're seeing before us, is that there literally was this. There was this changeover in the speed of it. I talked about that with zombies. So the speed of the vampire movies got faster. The pace got faster. The pacing of it felt better. You added Technicolor blood. You added bright red capes, visual bite wounds, because now you can show all that stuff in detail. A lot more action, stronger female characters, and it got more sexual, man. Like, it was getting it on, man. It was getting it in. So Christopher Lee kind of really himself, he personally like defines Dracula, man. He became Dracula. He's calm and commanding. Like, he does a great Count Dooku, whereas like, you know, Bela Lugosi is more like hypnotic, gentlemanly. Like, Christopher Lee's like, yeah, boom, I'm in the room. Like, this is me. He has a great presence that I really think adds a lot to his Dracula portrayal. Like, you kind of feel it. And he becomes more animal. Like, it's strange to say that about Christopher Lee as I think about him as an actor, but this is kind of what it is right here, right? Like, you know, earlier Dracula, you was more sophisticated, right? Like, you were more sophisticated. You were a suave dude. I couldn't really hate on it. You knew your etiquettes and had all the proper wines and all those things. You're charming, you know, although, you know, some of them seem kind of creepy to me. Like, I didn't like your whole style, but I get it that people were into it. By the time the 60s roll around, yeah, Dracula's stalking you down, right? He's lunging. He's a whole different beast, man. Like, it's much rougher way that he goes about his business. Now they kind of create, like I said, returning him back to his ancient roots in a lot of ways, because we got to see the castles and the old churches, and like the whole holy water became a factor in this. Because I don't know if anyone's really using holy water. Yeah, I don't know if anyone's using holy water in modern vampire movies. That's an interesting part, like what survives. And the sexuality becomes like much more centered. At this era, like even older vampire movies, there's always an element to somebody biting you on your neck and sucking your life out. It's always a sexual element to that, right? But this one gives us more of like, I don't know, man. Just more like, it's more like seduction. It's more like, hey, what's up, girl? It's a lot more of that. So I'm not sure if I'm quantifying it the right way, but it's palpable on the screen, right? Like I said, if you Bela Lugosi and you're like, eh, you aren't really like charming. You aren't doing that part of it, right? So he's different, but he switches from like monster to murder. Like you smooth and then you a killer, right? You just suck my blood up, but then you straight. Like it's a way that he portrays it, like how he kind of seamlessly goes back and forth. But we definitely get a more like animalistic side, and I think that's really Christopher Lee, right? So they set vampires up pretty well, especially going forward, like how we would look at vampires, how we would see them as villains, like because now they're better looking, they're smarter, like you know, they're not all like, you know, looking like a corpse out there. Some of you guys are cool. You had great hair in this, right? So this is really it. Like the story is like, yeah, he gets caught up with this young girl who's like becomes, you know, basically his prisoner, this young compassionate woman who makes a mistake of rescuing one of his victims, and now she unleashes his predator upon herself. So this becomes a recurring theme, like evil often spread because good people mistaking it for suffering, right? So they're seeing like compassion, and that's how it becomes. And then we get some more Van Helsing. So Van Helsing, who was Peter Cushing, this is the other wing of that, man. Like Peter Cushing, man, this is the OG, and his Van Helsing is still pretty much iconic, man. Let me see if I can. I hate to be. Let me see if I can. I guess we got time, right? Let me see if I can find something on Peter Cushing. Yeah, this guy, I'll probably have to. Yeah, you like Peter Cushing. You guys are gonna recognize this guy too. These like all these dudes are Star Wars, man. I think George Lucas has got everybody who have like they got all the OGs. All these guys were like great. Like you're gonna recognize him. What's that? Damn it! All right, yeah, sorry. But this becomes like the counter to Dracula, and Peter Cushing did such a good job. Man, I don't know if we've even seen like another Van Helsing story kind of like this. I mean, like, another Van Helsing like this, right? Let me pull it up here. I'm talking a lot right now. I mean, I'm supposed to, right? Let's see, where are you at? Oh, I'm not even in the right folder. Oh, that's hilarious. Okay, there we go. There we go. Okay, yeah, this is our Peter Cushing. Like, this dude's also in Star Wars. I think this dude was like, I feel like he's like a Death Star commander or something like that. I can't remember which one. He might have been in the first one. He might have been in, like, or I mean, like, whatever, New Hope, Star Wars, New Hope, whatever it was. But I'm sure, I could picture this guy, like, I think he's the one that's like, Vader, release him. Remember after dude was talking shit to Vader, and Vader was like, yeah, your insolence, your insolence, insult, whatever it was, man. Like, I don't like you talking shit about the Force, right? And he's force choking that dude, and it's Peter Cushing's character is one who's like, Vader, release him. Right, so that's who he was. So even he carried enough juice to talk to a little bit, like, yeah, Vader, quit tripping, right? So you have Vader in check a little bit. So it's a very powerful character, and you can see, man, we just get so many of these guys from this genre that reappear in, like I said, our modern science fiction, like Star Wars and stuff like that. So you recognize a lot of these faces. So tandemly, they really kind of put it down. And it was important that we had both of them. Like, that gave it that little extra, like, pow, we kick it up a notch, right? Like, and then, Van Helsing can have his own adventures even outside of Dracula. It doesn't always have to be a Dracula movie. Van Helsing could be hunting anybody. Like, he was a detective, scientist, physician. Like, he was all that. And we saw, like, and there's been some good, some characters based off of him. Like, I look at Whistler. Like, my man Whistler from Blade series is mad Abraham Van Helsing, right? Like, he's built in that same mode. The Winchester brothers, right? Constantine, like, yeah, Blade, like, all those, like, monsters are definitely a Blade. Definitely Blade and Whistler are definitely in that. And in this film, like, the mythology is real raw because vampires in this movie, like, it's an infection, it's a curse, it's this growing cult that we have to watch out for. I mean, again, like, this time period, like, we forget, man, the 60s was off the hook, man. Like, we don't talk about it enough because we're getting further away from, like, kids right now. If you're children right now, why are you not at school? But if you're at school and you're watching this, okay. But, like, what you guys are not being taught is that the 60s was off the chain, man. So I look at people, they might all be dead. I don't know. People, like, if you're really causing ruckus in the 60s, you were probably born, like, in the 40s, like the late 40s. I'm talking about those who were born late 40s, early 50s, because you guys were the ones who were in your prime and doing the most damage to the world, like at that period of time, right? So let's remember that the 60s, that era of everything was completely off the hook. And any adult in the 60s is a savage. The entire everything about the 60s was off the hook. It was so much stuff going on in the 60s, man. This is a powder keg. Like, go watch all those movies. Forrest Gump, Malcolm X, all those movies are about the same time period. Go watch like 3 of those movies right now. Go watch The Watchmen to get a taste for like the 60s, right? Like the 60s, and they embedded it in their movie culture. So the 60s, like music of the 60s was really incredible music, right? Like, you know, they really dominated. TV was really just getting strong. Movies was always on the out. So the 60s as an era has to be really examined, because like, yeah, they put down 60s on vampirism. Their era really defines it. Now I pointed to you guys some stuff the other day about the 80s era of it, when like the 80s was like, oh yeah, you think you guys are the only one that come through and tell a story about vampires with your own style? The 80s did it and was like, yeah, that's what's up. I feel like the 60s had an impact, was the first, you know, the OG at having that kind of like, we're rebooting vampires, and that kind of set the screen. And no one has eclipsed Christopher Lloyd as like, yeah, that's Dracula, man. If he's like, yeah, I'm Dracula, yeah, you Dracula, man. Like, ain't nobody, no one can dispute that, right? So this is where it gets, you know, it gets to be really good, because then we get in all kind of other stuff like, you know, man, you know, Dracula be having brides, right? Like this is something new. This is where Dracula started really being like the OG, man. Like Brides of Dracula, like, man, you know, man. Dracula has got really good taste, right? Like, we know this. Like, let's go and look at this one, right? And then we'll talk about this movie later, but let's look at this stuff, man. Okay. Like the Bride of Frankenstein, you're like, well, I guess he did make her kind of hot. They have made the Bride of Frankenstein kind of hot. She never wants him, man. Frankenstein never gets any love, man. He needs it the worst, and nobody ever loves on Frankenstein. But like, yeah, because the Bride of Frankenstein, they did make her kind of, like when it's Jessica Biel. Wait, which Biel am I on? Jennifer Beals, right? That's the one. That's my generation one, right? This new Biel, that's the next generation, y'all. She's also very talented. She ain't my Beal. She ain't my J Beal, right? Yeah, let's look at this, man. Let's look at this. Let's talk about it. Like, this is what this era brought. Like, these aren't all from this era, but we first got introduced to the Brides of Dracula during the 60s. We see some, like, the more modern ones with the Van Helsing, the more modern Van Helsing depiction of them. But look at the old school one. They got the old school one back there, like right behind him. And Dracula, man, yeah, it ain't bad, huh? It ain't bad. It's even, you see this one over here in the corner, like, yeah, oh yeah, that's the Van Helsing one. Like, yeah, Dracula be having it good, man. Like, you know what I'm saying? I don't even know why you don't stay at home more. I would be home every night. Are you trying to go out at night? You guys don't have to go to work, right? But that's the whole thing. Like, and you can see, like, this is the other one. This is that one. Let me see. Can I click on this one? Oh no, I did. I'm sorry. I don't know what I was thinking. I thought it was a website. But this is the one right here. That's the Bram Stoker's. Was that Bram Stoker's? Yeah, that's from the Bram Stoker's Dracula vampire. And I think I want to say that came out like 90s, right? So you can see we're firmly invested in, like, yeah, brides of Dracula are always super hot. Like that's where Dracula is. He's like, I'm not having it no kind of other way. We didn't see that prior to this period of time. That's really the significance of it, is that prior to this, we didn't have Brides of Vampire. Like, now they're there, and like they're all tempestuous. Like, man, the Brides of Vampire, man, it's almost worth it, man. It ain't worth it, right? It's almost worth it to get turned by the Brides of Godzilla, because it's gonna be a choice you want, right? You know what I'm saying? Like, you get it. Like, they're very good. Like, you saw it with the Keanu Reeves scene, man. Like, they put it down on Keanu Reeves. They had him in the zone for like a week, 2 weeks, man. Just like, it was draining him, and it was sex, right? It was all that stuff, man. Like, it's bad. And that's who the brides of Dracula really all about. They're after you, man. And they're all hot, and they're all like, oh yeah. And they're all Marushka, and they all want to, like, you know what I'm saying? Like, you're looking at it like, damn, man, dude, Dracula killing it over here, man. I'm not gonna lie, man. Like, you got a nice mansion, got ladies, like, they living a poly life, you know what I'm saying? Like, damn, Drac, like, what's up, Hammy? So this is what we get out of this. And they're like forbidden sexuality. This is what they represent. Their temptation, because they'll break you down, man. These brides of Dracula, man, ain't no jokes, man. No jokes taken at all with these girls, man. They're 100% about it. Like, they really increase the reach of his vampirism, like, and his status among all other, like, there's no other monsters. Like I said, Frankenstein, you can't even get your chick to like you. Werewolf, I don't know what you're doing, man. Nobody really knows what kind of stuff you on werewolves. Like, whatever. The Mummy, you did. Unless you're talking about the Brendan Fraser Mummy, you was trying to get back to a Noxinamon, right? But this is an era where we really got into, like, the gothic themes, right? And if you're gothic, man, nobody gave you guys more love than this era of vampire movies. If you're a goth girl right now, if you're like a 15-year-old goth girl who just walked out of Hot Topics with your new summer look and everything is black, right? You even found out how to get some black glitter, and you guys got a cauldron, and you're probably gonna go home and do some spells. Thank them for all that stuff. These guys put gothic culture, let me say, not gothic culture, but gothic aesthetics. They blasted it onto the screen. This is when we really start seeing it on the screen, was during this era. Imagine, and it's like the castles, right? Because they were nice, like lavish, and now you can see all that stuff in color in this new Technicolor for the first time. So it really made that gothic aesthetic like really, really pop. Like, this was heavy, good time for gothic aesthetic, man. Like, the religious symbols, the moonlit, everything is probably got the moonlight cemeteries, the lunar, it's like the coldest, like the blood's red, diamonds gleaming, right? This is what really came out of this era. So yeah, for gothic culture, say thank you to the 60s, man. This is what the 60s did for you guys, man. They gave you some definitive love, representations of, like, the dark, sinister stuff that you guys, my heart is darkness, or whatever you guys be saying, but it's also like your aesthetic is very beautiful. It was very, like, pristine, like the castles, all that look that you guys really preserved and do an excellent job of doing so, right? That's what we saw coming out of the 60s, man. Sometimes you gotta thank an era. And this is an era that was completely off the hook culturally. So the fact that they did something like that, man, that was them trying really hard, man. Because I'm telling you, otherwise, these guys were hot a lot of the time, like everybody. This is the 60s, man. This is free love era. You know what these guys were like? And now they're all like grandma, great grandma, and all that stuff. Now it's like, yeah, don't be looking at them old ladies like that. Them old ladies are savages, man. If I could time machine on you and see the stuff that you used to do back in the day, it'd be shocking. Because you came from the 60s, and I know you were down there with them. You ain't the only one who just didn't go, right? Like, I don't want to hear that stuff. But all this stuff circles back to talking about this era and what the mythic meaning of it, because this is still like the whole, like, sirens, the whole, like, brides of Dracula. These are like the sirens, so you're pulling to that. And this is where, like, what's that, succubus and incubus legends really start to, like, a lot of them branched off of this as well. Similar, with all that sexuality and all that stuff, where the greatest weapon is attraction, right? And your lack of willpower, because you haven't been laid in a couple of weeks, right? That's all they need. All they need is your lack of willpower, and I ain't got laid in like 3 weeks, and them. And you're probably not ever going to leave that castle. At least you're going to leave and be working down there, right? You're permanently working down there for Dracula. His wife said so. And psychologically, like, it shifted the thread as well, because Dracula, because it's obviously male visuals. So to keep it, keep that sexual energy, it was always him initiating with, like Lucy, go back, like with Lucy, and then like with Winona Ryder's character, right? Like all of them, right? He's always like, yeah, girl, like, I'm after you. What's up? It was very mad sexual for the women. Guys, you didn't have to worry. All he was somebody you fought. Because it's like, yeah, we ain't gonna put, I got a dude biting on my neck in a movie. Like, I don't care. I don't care. Okay. We're gonna have to figure, how about you hold me at gunpoint
and you make me cut myself, and then all the blood comes out of my arm. How about that? Because we're not doing this. Everything that you need to get me in a position where you can suck the blood out of my neck, we ain't doing that. We're not doing that, homie. I don't care if this is just a movie, and I don't care what anybody else says. So when it became like the brides of Dracula, that opened up the male victim. We're like, of course you're gonna go there. Hi, hey, how you guys doing? Come on into us. Okay, let me can I take my shirt off now? Or do you want me to wait? Or do you want to take the shirt off of me? Like, what are you gonna be doing? Okay, like 100%. Like, this is a fail-proof system here, and this is where like we see Hammer as a company really evolve. Like in this discussion about the 60s, they take him from 1958 Dracula with terrifying recreation of that dark side. By the 60s, the mid 60s, it's all Christopher Lee. Everybody's looking good, and the brides are just starting to get off the hook. Then you get into the next one here, which is, let's see, where are we at? We're at Kiss of the Vampire, right? Oh, no, let's see, we got Kiss of the Vampire. Maybe we don't. Let's see, I thought I grabbed that, though. Whatever. Okay. Oh, yeah, this is right here. This is that cover. Kiss of the Vampire, right? This is another one, again, in Eastman color. Now Eastman, see, this is like, I did go to film school, so I do know a little bit about like film production, like, you know, film, like we learned on like original film, right? I was terrible with photography because I could never manage light bucks. I always let light leak into my shit. Like, it was terrible for me, but I do understand some of the history, and this is where Eastman became like a big company. This era was there where they really like slotted in because of their color, and that's how it was. Like, it wasn't a billion different companies providing color, so you knew who it was, right? When they said Eastman, you knew you were going to expect a certain type of color, and that's something that was really strong for this film. Like, it really helped kind of shape what this film would be like for the Kiss of the Vampire. So this is the story, and again, this is like Hans Zimmer, right? Like, this is Hans Zimmer. He introduces like another scholar hunter. That's Professor Zimmer. See, not Hans Zimmer. Professor Zimmer is a character who gets inserted as a scholarly hunter. So he's kind of like a Van Helsing, but he represents reason, he represents scholarship, he represents righteous knowledge, right? He is the occult expert. So we start seeing those guys start to show up. Let me kick this AC on, because I'm telling you, it is like dangerously warm in the South today. Like that, you know, it's gonna be bad, right? So stay in the house and watch YouTube videos, right? Especially this one. Stay in the house. We'll stay in the house together. So this story is about some newlywed couples touring through Europe when they have car trouble. Oh no, right? They get invited to dine with this charming Dr. Ravna, and they unintentionally enter the center of a vampire conspiracy. So she gets hypnotized by the vampires. Gerald discovers that the villagers live in terror and is trying to force him to get help. So he goes to the vampire expert. He's like, man, this dude just took my chick, man. He just like hypnotized her. She got up and left. She was like ghost, right? So he goes out there. Now they're like, yeah, I'm using the occult. I'm making the weapons. So this is one of the early like weapons handlers. Like when we go in here, like this Dr. Zimmer. And that's what makes this film different, because the vampire community gets larger. We see more vampire rituals, ceremonies. We start seeing a hierarchy among vampires. We see them having social gatherings. So this is it right here. Like the vampires have a ball, right? I don't mean like they have a ball so they're having fun. They literally have a masquerade ball. And it's one of the most memorable scenes in this film. And you know, the thing about it, like I remember they kind of had a ballroom scene in the Van Helsing one, like the Hugh Jackman. I have no idea what year that was. I can't even. That must have been like, I'm going to guess it. I was like 06, 06. Like one day when we say 06, kids in the future will be like 06, the same way we talk about it was 09, right? Like it's going to be the same thing. It'll be hilarious. I hope I'm still around to see it, friends. I'm trying to live for a long time, right? So this is where you start seeing the ball, the elegance, like again, goth people, right? Goth people, if you're on your way to Hot Topic, or you just came from Hot Topic, or you went to Hot Topic yesterday,
or you're probably going to go to Hot Topic tomorrow, thank these guys right here, because they help put that goth culture, that goth, excuse me, I should say aesthetic, like very much on the screen. Like the masquerade balls, man, it was beautiful stuff, right? So the also the appearance, like the wealth, like the lavishness of it, the gothic themes, like the ancient castles, like the ice. You guys would love this stuff, man. Goth kids, right? Darkness and despair. I'm calling on you guys. Darkness and despair, ancient castles, isolated villages, dark forests, candlelight lit halls, hidden crypts, right? Aristocrats corrupted, forbidden rituals. This is all you guys right here, man. That's everything that you guys want in the 60s, and they've left it there for you guys to go back and watch it and enjoy it, right? I'm sure you guys will even get some like fashion tips on how to be more uniquely goth, right? I know you guys got to outdo the other ones, but this is a great like look at the aesthetics that they would embrace in gothic culture. Here's some beautiful stuff. And then like what this is Dr. Ravina, man. This guy introduces kind of a terrifying architect, man. Like the evil nobleman, right? Like the evil nobleman scares the shit. I mean, like, this is like, Roman aristocrat. And you have this entire village of, shire folk, essentially, like just at your mercy, right? Like they're powerless against this, right? You got open rituals. You have priestesses that are worshiping the like it's all like you guys, the vampires are taking over. You guys just live there, right? Literally. Right. And there's a whole psychological meaning to it. Like vampires don't attack strangers in dark alleys. Now they're like, oh, we're having a ball. Would you like to come? Like, I don't know why I did that voice, but whatever. They offer you hospitality, right? Like we're using hospitality. You get some trust. You think we're cool. Next thing you know, they sucking the blood out of you. They manipulate you through charm, man. They use social pressure, right? Peer pressure, right? To get you to hit that first joint. I mean, to get you to take that first sip of vampire blood. That's exactly what it is. They use seduction all upon you with seduction. Like I'm telling you, this is a whole new type of vampire, man. Like remember previously, vampires had to make up a reason for you to come down to their castle. Now it's like the castle was popping off. So this is one of the best, like for Hammer, like as an industry, I feel like these guys just did exceptional work. Now looking at this film, man, I would still grade this thing like very, very high. Like this is, if you guys see the imagery of this, who Dracula is, this aristocrat, he's a strategist, he's a manipulator, right? Like that's, look at, man, let me show you one. Is this fake? Hold on, man. I gotta share this because this can't be who I think it is. This can't be. I gotta show you guys this image. What's funny, man? I mean, you guys gotta see this one right here, man. I'm real with you. This is gonna sum it up right here. This is gonna sum it up right here for you guys, man. Oh, let me do that. I mean, this is like, come on, man. Dracula at this point, and that's Christopher Lee, man. This is Count Dooku, man, before he got Dooku'd up, man. Before he was Dooku'ing it, right? That's who he was. That dude, right? So that's who we got as Dracula, man. The imagery of it is off the hook, man. I'm like, is that Faye Dunaway? Like, you know what I'm saying? So this is the look. You look at the look of the color. Look how brilliant that red is in his cave. Like the intentional color contrast. Look how rich that color is, man. Look how rich the black is in his attire, right? With some pretty good detail versus like how detailed that white is. Look at the flush of her skin. Like you can see she looks like she got blood pumping through her right now. He's like, yeah, I want that blood, girl. I just see it all bulging in. You look all full of life. Like her cheeks are all rosy, right? She's all like, no, right? Hair is golden. Like I'm telling you, you right for it right now. If you're a vampire, I'm not a vampire. But you can see just image-wise what they did to create this. Like this is the look. So when we talk about like in the old days, guys had less tools to make visual looks, right? They really did. Like, cinematographers and filmmakers had less tools to work with, but they produced extreme. I'm not shitting on guys today. You guys are brilliant as well, right? I'm just saying, let's appreciate what these guys are doing, because I'm telling you, you can see the rosiness all up in her, man. She rosy and red all up in here, right? Like, you looking like a snack right now. Whenever guys tell you look like a snack, girl, run, because this is where it comes from. It comes from, if you look like a snack, you about to get ate. Because what else do you do with a snack? You don't admire a snack. You don't put a snack up and take care of it, right? Eat that bitch, right? Like, that's what he's like, girl, look, now stop it now. He already got his hands on her, like, already got his other one arm around her. It's like, girl, I got you already. Like, why are you tripping at this point? We already know what this is, right? You knew what this was already, right? That's what he's saying to her. That's not my words for the scenario. I say, look, we live in the age of consent, right? No matter what. But he didn't. He wasn't born under the age of consent. He was born under a whole different age, and consent, they probably didn't even know that word. They probably didn't even know that word, right? But like, he is like, man, here's another one I just gotta really, there's another one that's really indicative of this movie, man. Just like what they produce. All right, hang on. Where you at? I mean, this is kind of an iconic part right here. This is Christopher Lee getting stabbed up, right? He gets stabbed up for his villainy, man. Like, as you know what I'm saying? Like, they about to stake him. Like, they definitely phone checked him for phone check on me. And it represents, so this is 1968, you know, again, Christopher Lee. This is like the icon. This is from the He Has Risen, right? And this is an old mythology about this, you know. And again, that imagery, the coolness, and you can see how much that color really pops versus even a good black and white image. Black and white has its merits. Obviously, I'd never turn my back on black and white, but you know, having been able, for some films, being able to add that spice of color, man, I really, really think it takes there. And these movies are a big part of that. So Dracula is, like I said, in this flick, he's the aristocrat, he's a manipulator, he's rarely outside of his motivations. He wants revenge, domination, blood, and he wants to corrupt other people. And usually does well on all accounts, right? He gets his revenge. You know, it swims in the gothic themes, and the mythic theme behind this is he operates as the defiler of sacred places, like this young lady. Like this young lady here. So it's a different psychology behind this dude. And the cross has a power on him. This is important to the mythology, is that the cross is a strong symbol placed on Dracula's door. However, when serving as a weapon against vampires, the cross becomes a declaration, right? So, you know, this is kind of where they're marking territory, and like the cross symbolism becomes very important. And Hammer, like I said, Hammer as a studio, man, deserve their kudos. I guess they're not around anymore. It's been a long time. But for what they did, man, I'm talking about an indelible mark on vampire culture, like 100%. Christopher Lee obviously is still the man right now. I think he's still alive. I hope so. But he, you know, this guy was also Count Dooku, and he's like in Lord of the Rings and countless other films. It would require an entire filmography on his characters, but I think it might be well worth it. So that's my morning session for the day, guys. You know, it's at lunchtime, about to go and get some grub, but I'll be back on with another topic. I may do some more vampires, but you know, I could talk about something else. So I'll have a new topic for you guys. Just always make sure you like and subscribe, and I appreciate the support.